Welcome back to In Pursuit 360. So, you want to be a cop? Do you really? Let's find out. So, if you're thinking that you want to join the profession of law enforcement, there are a couple things that you really need to think about. Like, do you really know what you're getting into? So, one of the very first questions that they're going to ask you in an interview is going to be, why do you want to be a law enforcement officer? And you need to have a good answer for that. They're really going to be looking to see what you think or how your mind works or how you're able to articulate what you're thinking. So, in order to kind of help you understand what I'm talking about, let's talk about my answer for why did I want to be a law enforcement officer. So, in my life growing up, my mother experienced a couple of divorces. The one constant male in my life was my grandfather, Richard Meehan. He was a World War II B-17 bomber pilot. He ended up becoming an Iowa State Trooper. He then went back into the U.S. Air Force, became a security policeman. He ended up being a squadron commander in Korea for a security police detachment. And I grew up on his stories. I grew up on his theories on what law enforcement was supposed to be, or ways to deal with people, and he was my mentor. So growing up with his stories and that type of thing, and his work history and his work ethic is what sort of drove me towards law enforcement. The other part I have to credit to my mother. Um, we've owned businesses since I was little. At 8 years old, I was getting up at 4:30 in the morning to go mop the floors at the laundromat that we had. But we also owned a dry cleaner. So I'm doing other people's laundry at 8, 9, and 10 years old, folding laundry, dealing with customers, taking money. So I was dealing with people. And my mom taught me a secret. And this is how I answer this question in an interview. My mom taught me a secret when I was young. People that tell you they enjoy dealing with people have never dealt with people. I enjoy the challenge of dealing with people. So, why did I want to become a law enforcement officer? Because I was inspired by my grandfather and I enjoy the challenge of dealing with people. And the most important thing, I want to make a difference in my community. I've always wanted to make a difference in my community, and when I didn't do that anymore, I wanted to be able to serve my country, and that's when I went federal. So, the idea of service to the community, the idea of wanting to make things better. My field training officer actually asked me that question my first day that I was in his car. Well, why do you want to be here? And I said, okay, it's going to sound corny, but because I want to make a difference, I want to help somebody. And he goes, okay, that's not corny. That's not stupid. It's a good idea. He says, but you're not going to help everybody. I said, no, I understand that. I said, but if I can make the difference in one person's life, just one, then my career will be worthwhile. I mean, to make a true difference in somebody's life. So I feel like I accomplished that in my 13 years with the sheriff's office. And I definitely served my country. I think I left the Pentagon Police a better place than when I got there. And we can talk about that later too. Um, so I made an impact. I made my difference. So now I'm here to help guide you to get you to the place where you think that you're going to be able to make your difference and your impact somewhere down the line. So that kind of answers the whole idea of why you may want to be a police officer. If you're looking to be a police officer because you've been watching a lot of movies and TV and you want to run and gun and you think it's all out there just chasing down the bad guy, and you get to chase them and run and jump over fences and tackle them, and you're the big star and take them to jail and go out and do it all over again and get in a high-speed chase, that doesn't happen. That's about 5% of what you do working the street every single day. Working the street every day involves proactive patrol. You're driving around, you're being seen, you're checking on your businesses, you're looking in windows of businesses at nighttime, flashing your light all around, making traffic stops, trying to make sure that, and this is for simple speeding violations. You're trying to change the behavior of the motoring public by making traffic stops based on their speed. There's nothing exciting about all that. It can definitely be a challenge. Get somebody to say thank you after writing them a ticket, but there's nothing exciting. Now, nothing exciting, but don't take a traffic stop for granted. There's no such thing as a routine stop. That's a very dirty word in the law enforcement world. No routine stops. You have traffic stops, and every single one of them, you have to be cautious. Every single one of them, you have to stay on alert, thinking that the possible worst can happen. And that's something else that you need to know about law enforcement. You are constantly on a heightened alert. You will find yourself in your personal life, when you go out to eat with your family or your friends, you're going to want to sit where you can see the door. You're going to always be watching everybody walking by. You're going to see somebody that just doesn't quite look right, and you're going to be watching them and seeing what they're doing. Your girlfriend, spouse, boyfriend, whatever, may look at you going, what are you looking at them for? Oh, no, something just caught me. Something just caught my attention. I just didn't know what they were up to. So relationships in law enforcement are a whole nother thing. So it's not all thrills and excitement. There's a lot of mundane, day-to-day things that you have to do. Report writing is another one. You will write lots and lots and lots of reports. Now, depending on what department you go to, big city department, they may just require about 4 lines if you go to a burglary. Showed up, confirmed that there was a burglary, notified detectives, and report. And you're done. You work for a sheriff's office like I did, you go to a burglary, and you're going to end up writing about a 3-page burglary report, because you have to talk about what time of the day it was, what the surrounding area was like, were there any pry marks on the doors, could you associate it with any type of tool, so was it consistent with a screwdriver or a crowbar, did they break a window, which way did the glass fall, in or out, did you dust for prints? At the sheriff's office, we dusted for prints. There were no detectives that came out and did that work for us. It was all us. We also cast footprints and that kind of thing. That was kind of neat. But writing the report was probably the most tedious thing, because on a busy night, you can have 4 or 5 reports that are multiple pages long. Now they're all being typed, then they were handwritten, but still, even typing a report, when you're talking about the detail that you have to make sure you get in there, it can really wear on your brain. And if you put it off and you wait till the end of the night, you're going to be sitting there for 3 hours straight writing a report, and your supervisor is going to be hot, because they can't leave until your paperwork is done. So that's another thing that you have to do on a daily basis. We talked about traffic stops, answering simple calls, police informations. We would have to go out to somebody's house because they called about, I don't know, a dog barking. So you have to go out there and you had to deal with the dog barking, or you had to deal with noise next door. Or in the county I was in, it was a rural county, you had to deal with shots fired. Well, most of the county was a shooting zone if you were out in the country, as long as it wasn't a residential neighborhood. So it was kind of like we had all the big city people moving down to the country, and they didn't understand how all that worked. So we had to explain that to them. A mailbox vandalism. It's another report. It's something simple, and you're like, I don't want to go. I'm never going to solve this mailbox vandalism unless somebody saw something, unless there was a report or somebody took a picture or got a tag on a car. You were never going to solve that mailbox vandalism. But like I used to tell my guys, to that person, that mailbox getting damaged was the worst thing that's ever happened to them in their entire life up to that moment. And to them, it's serious. And you have to treat them that way. You have to treat them like you empathize with what they're going through. You sympathize, and you are there for them, and you're going to do everything within your power to solve that mailbox vandalism. You know, that same mailbox that they can go to Home Depot and spend about $20 for and replace. You're going to do everything in your police powers in order to solve that crime. So there's a lot of mundane, day-to-day things that you have to do in law enforcement. So It's not like TV. It's not like the movies. It's an awesome career. It's a calling. If this is what you want to do and this is what you're called to do, you won't mind. 13 years I worked for the sheriff's office, and I never minded going to work. Ever. Any day. That was my escape. At the time, I thought I was going to work to escape stress at home. I had more stress at home than I did when I was working the street. I was happy to go to work all the time. My base salary when I left as a first sergeant was about $45,000 a year. I made $75,000 that included my overtime. That's how much extra I worked. So I loved going to work. I loved being there. But I knew what I was getting into. That's what I want to help you understand, is what you're getting into if you want to be a police officer. Again, don't believe what you see on TV. Don't believe what you see in the movies. If you want to know what it's really like, talk to the guys that are in it and the gals. Talk to us. Get the ideas from us. Get an understanding from us. Ask questions. We may seem unapproachable when we're in uniform and on the street, but we're really not. Just make sure that you give us plenty of notice that you're walking up on us. Don't surprise us. Don't tap us on the back of the shoulder. Get our attention and just say, hey, I'm really interested in being a law enforcement officer one day. Can you tell me what it's like? Can you give me some insight? You'd be surprised how many of them will talk to you. They look kind of tough and mean and everything. That's all part of that persona that you have to have when you're out there in the street in the public, trying to make sure you stay safe and don't get hurt. So hit subscribe, hit the like button, ask me any questions you want to down below in the comment section. I will get back to you. This is going to be a series of, so you want to be a law enforcement officer, how to become a law enforcement officer. We're going to go into the application process. How do you choose your department, polygraph, the written test, physical agility testing. We'll go through all of that. One video for each subject, so give me some time to get these videos put together and get them put out. Again, I appreciate you for joining me. Be safe out there, subscribe, hit the like, and I'll see you soon. Have a good one.